Ohayou gozaimasu, o genki desu ka? If you guys remember anything from our Japan lessons a while ago. Morning, everybody, and welcome to our next week of stuff to do with maths. We're still going to continue the time element, okay? But this week we're going to look at specifically time as in clock time. How long something lasts, that kind of look at. But obviously our maths lessons will follow the same kind of vein as the phonics, where we will do a bit of practice of our numbers and our subitizing, or maybe our number bonds, and then we will go into the topic at hand. So today we're going to look at the different kind of time increments that there are, and maybe have a go at trying to guess how long something takes, okay? Just so we can get in the habit of looking at time as an abstract concept, instead of saying, so how long until your birthday? Well, it's 1,000 days or it's 1,000,000 years. Obviously, not quite sometimes, okay? It might feel that way, but not always that way, okay? So if we have a look at our calendar again, today is Monday, the 22nd of June. Can't believe it's near the end of the month already. Heaven forbid. Okay, so we'll just move out the way a little bit. So as I say, we're going to go through our numbers again, and then have a look at a little bit of subitizing, and then I'm going to go into the time concept itself. So let's have a look. Numbers up to 20, okay? So just shout them out, just like you do with your letters, so we get used to knowing what the numbers look like. Are you ready? Let's put some easier ones at the beginning. Let's spread these out a little bit. Okay, are we ready? 3, 2, 1. I'll do it there so you can see it a bit. 3. Oops. Lights a bit there, so it's better. 9. 12. 16. 15. So think of the number that comes in the second part. 14. 18. 11. 6. 17. 2. 13. Unlucky 13. 19. 20. You know that one. 8. How old some of you might be. 5. How old some of you might be. 4. Well done. Okay. Gonna look at our subitizing again. Again, I'll not use the really big ones on there. That's a 5 and a 5, that's 10. But it's probably a little bit too much at the moment while we get practicing. Okay, it's about looking for clusters and looking for patterns within them. So like, for example, if you got your mummy or daddy to do it, they might find different clusters of numbers and be able to do it a lot quicker. Okay, I'll leave those ones there. So let's have a go. Ready? So instead of going 1, 2, 3, you need to be able to look at it and go 3. That's 3. 3. So you might see this on a dice. 5. So you have to try and get to the number before I say it, okay? 5, okay? Because there's 3 there, and then there's the extra 2, so 3 and 2, 5. This one's quite a hard one. What I want you to look for, maybe, is you might see 5 there, and there's a 4 there. 5 and 4. 9. So this is where I think your 2 times table will come into it. So for those of you who've maybe been practicing counting in 2s, I know that we haven't done that specifically, but counting in 2s, you might go 2, 4, 6, 8, and 1 extra, 9. 3 and a 5, 8. 4 and a 4, so it's 4 there, 4 there, 8. 5. 3 and a 4, or 3 and a 3 and a 1, 7. You might say 3, 3 and a 1. You might not say that, but that's 7. 5. You know your doubles, 3 and 3. 6. I think we'll leave it there actually. There's a couple more, but I'll leave it there. Right. Coronavirus may be over, but hay fever season's in. Okay, so we have done our numbers and we've done our subadvertising. So we're going to look at kind of time increments now. What I mean by that is different ways that we could measure time. So I want you to have a really big think now and maybe shout your answers out at the screen if need be. Okay. Think about how could we measure time. So what I mean by that is if we were measuring weight, you might use a set of scales because we pour things in, we want to know how heavy they are. For length, we want to know how long something is, so we might use a ruler or a tape measure. Or if we were measuring capacity, you might use a measuring jug, okay, because we want to know how full something is. But how would we measure time? Okay, what kind of things do you use to tell the time? Okay, have a quick thing. I'm going to give you 10 seconds. Okay, so some of the things you might have said, and hopefully you have said, first of all, a clock. Things that we use to tell the time. So we all use a clock most of the time to tell the time, okay? Might be a clock on the wall. A watch is also a very small clock. What else could we use? We might use a sand timer. I know some of the girls in my class love playing with those, okay? And they tell you how long a shorter amount of time is. Now, what if we didn't have a clock? What if it was the olden days? Like, we'll say Greeks and Romans time, okay? That's loads and loads and loads of years ago, okay? If we think about time, probably more like thousands of years ago. Well, 1,000. No, thousands is... not entirely up to scratch on that. 1,000, over 1,000 years. They didn't have clocks or watches. What do you think they may have used to tell the time? Now, not necessarily the exact time, but the knowing what time of day it is. Does anyone know what they used or may have used? You might have one in your garden. Okay, it was a sundial. So sundials were used to tell the time in the sense that when the sun goes across the sky, the shadows on the sundial move. So for example, I know even nowadays that if the sun is at its highest point in the sky, it's usually about dinner time, because if you think when the sun comes up in the morning, it gets to lunchtime, it's really high in the sky and then it goes back down, and when it's gone, it's nighttime. So they use the shadows on the sundial to let them know what time of day it was, okay? And I'm sure there's some lovely videos on YouTube for that. So we've got clocks, we've got sand timers, we've got sundials. You might use a stopwatch, and that again counts up how many seconds or minutes have passed if you're wanting to find out how long something's gone on for. Okay, and like I say, you could use the computer if need be. It has timers on there and clocks on there and so on and so forth. Okay, so what the point of this video was to get you used to the abstract concept of time, the duration of time, okay, so that you have a better idea of what we mean when we say in an hour's time or tomorrow, it'll take a day, so on and so forth. So, because for younger children and for you guys, it's quite a hard thing to think about. And I'll go, like I know you hear Miss Telford say, we'll be done in 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes, 10 minutes. Those 10 minutes go on for an awful long time. Okay, probably because I'm at 10 minutes, it's probably more like half an hour and I've just stretched it out a little bit. So what I wanted to do is introduce you to the different times and what kind of make up that time. So the first thing we're going to start with is something called seconds. Now seconds is literally the amount of time when you're counting. So 1 second is 1. Okay, and that's it, done. Okay, if I said 5 seconds, you go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. There, 5 seconds done. Okay, so seconds are very, very small periods of time. Now we use seconds for usually 30 seconds. I usually give you that for your tidy up time. Okay, you've got 30 seconds to get to the carpet. 30 seconds is like counting up to 30 slowly. Okay, so in America they use the term Mississippi because it helps spread that time up. What I mean by that is, if you say 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, 5 Mississippi, it spreads out those seconds evenly so that you know how much time has passed. So 30 seconds is like saying 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, all the way up to 30. Okay, 30 seconds gone. Now, the amount of seconds that we need to know more about is when you get to 60. Because when you get to 60 seconds, you can start all over again, because when you get to 60, it's the same as 1 minute. So you've counted up to 60, there's 1 minute done. Then you can start again, all the way up to 60 again, and that would be another minute. Count up to 60 again, and that would be another minute, okay? So if I said to you, right, we're going to be on the carpet in 10 minutes time, it would be like, say, counting up to 60 10 times, okay? Now, we are going to have a go at see if we can count up to 60 and see if we can get that minute down. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to click start on my computer, and we are going to count up in our heads to 60 to see if we can get a rough idea of how long a minute is. Okay, how long a minute goes on for. So what I want you to do is, should we fold it up? I want you to have your hands on your knees. Okay, and when I say go, you are going to count up to 60 on your head. So you'd go 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3 Mississippi, 4 Mississippi, all the way up to 60. If you don't want to say Mississippi, you don't have to. You can just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, all the way up to 60. And when you hit 60, I want you to very quietly fold your arms. Okay? Now you will hear a beep when it reaches 60 on my timer, and you have to try and get as close to that 60 as possible, so close to that beep. Okay, Miss Telford's going to try it as well. Okay, I'm going to see if I can count up to 60 accurately. Probably not. Okay, it's just so that we can get this idea of time. Okay, now it doesn't require you guys to write anything down at the moment. You might want to write down the different increments, but at the moment we're just looking at seeing if we can see what the abstract looks like. Okay, and how it feels, so that when your mum or dad says, right, you've got a minute to get downstairs, you know that you have 60 seconds, or counting up to 60 to get downstairs. Okay, so let's give this a try. Come on, computer. Oops, that's not 60 seconds. Okay, are we ready? 3, 2, 1, count. So close, so close. Okay, so that is a minute. Okay, so I'll stop my timer. Okay, so that gives you a better idea of how long we are talking about as teachers when we say, right, you've got a minute. that is how long a minute runs for, okay? It's like counting to 60. Now, I know that we've looked at people who help us. So for example, when we'd use certain time, we might say you need to brush your teeth for 2 minutes. Okay, to make sure that you've got nice healthy teeth. So that was 1 minute when we sat for that amount of time. So it's like doing that again, that twice, okay? 2 minutes worth, okay? So if I said, right, you've got 10 minutes to finish your work, it would be like doing that count 10 times, okay? Feels like a long time, but it's not. 10 minutes is not a long time at all, okay? So we've talked about seconds. There are 60 seconds in 1 minute. Now the next set of time after minutes is something called an hour. Now we will be looking at clock times tomorrow. We're going to start looking at all clock, okay, and an hour within a clock. Now an hour's worth of time is like having 60 minutes. So 60 seconds in 1 minute, 60 minutes in 1 hour, okay? So for example, you did that minutes long wait. If you did that 60 times a minute, that would be 1 hour, okay? Now an hour, I'll show you on a clock. So this is a clock, okay? And all these little blue dots around the outside of my clock are minutes, okay? So there's 60 all the way around the clock. So when a clock goes, hand goes all the way around the clock, that is 1 hour, okay? So the hand has gone all the way around the clock 60 times, like this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way around 60 times, that is an hour. So for example, when you guys ask me, Miss Telford, when's home time? And I go, you've still got an hour. What that means is you've still got 60 minutes before we can start thinking about going home, okay? So we said 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour. Now the next thing is how many hours are in a day. So we've gone seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours to days. Does anyone know, you can shout this at the screen, how many hours there are in a whole day? Have a think. For those of you who know, great. For those of you who don't, there are 24 hours in a day, okay? 24 hours in a day. So what that means is you've got 12 hours on a clock, it's got 12 there. It's like going around the clock and it's hours twice, okay? Now we can talk about AM and PM as well. So when you start the day, midnight, it goes round the clock. So 1 o'clock in the morning, 2 o'clock, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And about this time, this is around the time you start school. But when you get to dinner time again, on a 24-hour clock, the numbers keep going up. 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Okay, that's why we've got the 24 hours in a day. Don't worry about the clock yet. Don't have to worry about that, okay? So, how many seconds are in a minute? There are 60. How many minutes are in an hour? There are 60. How many hours are there in a whole day? There are, no, that's not 60, 24. Okay, that's where it becomes confusing. Okay, so 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. So you might say 24, you might hear people say 24 hours a day. I work 24 hours a day. I don't work 24 hours a day. Okay, if you think, guys, you spend, oh, let's say we'll say 9, 10, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. You spend about 6.5 hours at school. So out of those 24, 6.5 of those are at school. You probably spend about 8 of them, well, no, between 8 and 12 of them asleep. We're not awake for the whole day. You have to go to bed at night time as well. So if you think 6 of those are at school, so we'll take that away from 24, so that's 18. And then 8 of those are spent in bed. That, well, should we say 12? 12, which means you only have 6 hours of the day when you're actually free to do as you please. Scary times, okay? So we had 60 seconds in a minute, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day. Okay, Next part, moving up, so we've got seconds, minutes, hours, days. Next bit up is something called a week. Does anybody know, hopefully you do, how many days are in a week? So 24 hours in a day, how many days in a week? We did days of the week last week, so you should know how many days of the week there are. There are 7. Okay, 7 days in a week. So if I said this is a week, it means 7 days worth. Okay, so for example, we are on Monday. 1 week's time would take us back to another Monday, 7 days time. Okay, so for example, if I say there's 2 weeks until the holidays, what I mean is there's 14 days, because it's 7 days in a week. 2 weeks would be another 7, 14 days. Okay, after days come months. Okay, we briefly touched on months last week. Okay, so there's 24 hours in a day, 7 days in a week. We're talking about months, aren't we? I'm not gonna I'd say how many weeks in a month, but it varies. Okay, it's meant to be 4 weeks roughly, but we'll not talk about that. How many months in the year? So this is about your birthday month, so January, February, March, etc., etc. How many months are in the whole year? Have a think. 7 days in the week. How many months are in the year? There are 12. Okay, let's see if we can go through them again. January, February, March, April, May, June, which we are now, July, August, September, October, November, December. Okay, and when we hit December 31st, we start the year again and we go back to January. Okay, now that's pretty much it for the day. It's just looking at concepts. So maybe your challenge today could be a bit of outdoor stuff. Can you jump for what you think is a minute? Okay, or can you count, how far can you run in 30 seconds? Okay, just so they get used to knowing how long these periods last for. Okay, and then tomorrow we will start looking at o'clock and we'll look at the clock times. Okay, just to throw in some extra facts there. So we talked about 12 months in the year. Now, in terms of years, 100 years make a century. Okay, and I think it's 1,000 years make a millennium. Okay, so we've got different words for different amounts of time. So what we've looked at today is seconds. So we've had 60 seconds in a minute. Then we looked at minutes, 60 minutes in an hour, 24 hours in a day, 7 days a week, and then we had 12 months as well. Okay, so we're going to leave it there. Like I say, very whistle stop, but these are just things that I think that get often overlooked. We spend so much time focused on actual telling of the time that we forget to think about the actual abstract concept of time. So we're going to leave it there. I hope you had or having a great day, and I will see you tomorrow when we're looking at telling the time. Bye.